3,000 years ago, something appeared on the horizon. Not an army, not a single nation, a confederation, a fleet, a mystery. They came from the sea without warning, attacked civilizations, destroyed empires, left no trace of their origin. Nobody knows where they came from. Nobody knows their real names. And when historians tried to figure out who they were, the answer literally rewrote history. These were the Sea People, and their story is one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the ancient world. This is the story of how an unknown enemy brought down the Bronze Age. Around 1200 BCE, something catastrophic happened to the ancient world. Civilizations that had dominated for centuries began to collapse. The Mycenaean Greeks disappeared. The Hittite Empire fell. Trade networks collapsed. Cities burned. Refugees fled everywhere. But here's the strange part. We don't know why. For decades, historians blamed drought, earthquakes, climate change. But there was another factor they couldn't ignore. In the records of Egypt, one of the few civilizations that survived this period, there are detailed accounts of an enemy they called the Sea Peoples. The first mention comes during the reign of Ramesses II, around 1280 BCE. The Egyptians recorded a naval battle where these mysterious raiders attacked. Ramesses claimed victory. The Sea Peoples were repelled, but they didn't stay gone. They kept coming back. By the time of Ramesses III, about 50 years later, the Sea Peoples were attacking more frequently, more aggressively, and in greater numbers. Ramesses III left us the most detailed account we have. A massive temple inscription at Medinet Habu in Egypt describes an invasion unlike anything the ancient world had seen. The text reads, "The foreign lands made conspiracy in their islands, dislodged and scattered in the fray. They came with fire prepared before them, forward toward Egypt." What's remarkable about this inscription isn't just what it says. It's that it shows the Sea Peoples were organized, coordinated, professional. This wasn't a random pirate raid. This was a military operation. And Ramesses III explicitly names them. He calls them by 5 different confederation names: the Shurden, the Shikalesh, the Aquesh, the Pele Set, and the Tjeker. 5 groups, sailing together, fighting together, a confederation of the Mediterranean. But here's the mystery that confused historians for centuries. Where do they come from? The Egyptian records don't say, and that silence became the entire puzzle. Historians have spent 200 years trying to figure out who the Sea Peoples were, and the theories are everywhere. Some scholars argued they came from Sardinia. Others said Cyprus. Some claimed they were from Anatolia. A few wild theories even suggested they came from the Greek islands themselves. The problem is, they left no written records of their own. No inscriptions, no names, no origin story. We only have what their enemies wrote about them. And enemies aren't always reliable sources. So historians did what historians do. They looked for clues. They examined the temple reliefs at Medinet Habu, where Ramesses III documented his battles with the Sea Peoples. These reliefs showed detailed images of the raiders and their ships. The warriors carry round shields, use unique swords, wear feathered headdresses. The ships have high prows and sterns, distinctly different from Egyptian and Hittite designs. Scholars compared these images to what they knew about different Mediterranean cultures. Some features matched Cyprus. Some matched Sardinia. Some matched the Aegean Islands. This led most scholars to conclude the Sea Peoples weren't a single people. They were a confederation of raiders from various Mediterranean regions, united by opportunity and possibly desperation. But in the last 30 years, a new theory has emerged. Some researchers, like scholars from the University of Pennsylvania and the Israel Museum, have proposed something radical. What if the Sea Peoples were actually refugees? Not invaders. Refugees. The theory goes like this. When the Bronze Age began collapsing around 1200 BC, possibly due to climate change, earthquakes, or other catastrophes. Coastal populations were displaced. People lost their homes. Settlements were destroyed. These desperate populations didn't have much choice. They couldn't go north. The Hittite Empire was collapsing. They couldn't stay home. Their cities were burning. They took to the sea. They became raiders because raiding was how they survived. They formed confederations because together they were stronger. And they attacked Egypt and other wealthy civilizations because those were the only resources left. This theory explains something crucial: why they seemed to appear from nowhere. They weren't planning an invasion. They were running from catastrophe. But whether they were invaders or refugees, one thing was certain: they changed the course of history. To understand the Sea People's impact, you have to understand what they were attacking into. The Bronze Age Mediterranean was wealthy, organized, interconnected. It was the first true globalized world. Tin came from Afghanistan and Central Asia. Copper came from Cyprus. Cedar came from Lebanon. Luxury goods traveled along trade routes connecting Egypt, Anatolia, the Aegean, and the Levant. Powerful empires controlled these networks. The Egyptian New Kingdom in the south, the Hittite Empire in Anatolia, the Mycenaean Greeks in the Aegean, various city-states across the Levant. These civilizations weren't allies. They competed fiercely, but they were interdependent. They needed each other's resources. Then, around 1200 BCE, everything collapsed. Not just politically, climatically, geologically, economically. Archaeologists found evidence of severe drought lasting decades. Volcanic eruptions that darkened skies and ruined harvests. Earthquakes that destroyed cities and ports. Civilizations that had survived for centuries couldn't adapt fast enough. The Hittite Empire, which had dominated Anatolia for 500 years, fell apart. The Mycenaean palace culture disappeared almost overnight. Literacy vanished. Trade networks collapsed. Cities were abandoned. It was one of the most catastrophic collapses in human history. Here's where the story gets even more interesting. The Sea Peoples didn't disappear. After their failed invasion of Egypt, many settled in Canaan, in what is now Israel and Palestine. And here's the historical connection that most people don't know. Many scholars believe the Sea People Confederation called the Peleset became the Philistines. The word Philistin might actually come from Peleset, a phonetic connection that linguists have studied extensively. This would explain something that archaeologists have puzzled over for decades. Why the Philistines appeared so suddenly in the archaeological record around 1200 to 1150 BCE. Why their material culture was so distinctly different from the local populations. Why they maintained naval power while other Mediterranean cultures lost it. The evidence is compelling. Philistine pottery shows clear connections to Aegean styles. Philistine settlements appear at the same time the Sea Peoples were active. Philistine warfare tactics and equipment match what we see in the Medinet Habu reliefs. Philistine names found in later texts seem to have non-Semitic origins. So the Philistines weren't native to Canaan. There were Sea Peoples who, after raiding failed, settled there. And they became one of the most important peoples of the ancient Levant. Eventually, they come into conflict with the emerging Hebrew kingdoms, which is why Philistines appear so prominently in the Bible. The famous story of David and Goliath? That's literally a Hebrew king fighting a Philistine giant. So in a strange historical arc, the Sea Peoples appeared from nowhere, attacked civilizations, accelerated the Bronze Age collapse, failed to conquer Egypt, and then settled down to become a permanent part of Mediterranean civilization. They went from being history's greatest mystery to becoming an established nation. They became the neighbors and rivals of the ancient Hebrews. They left their mark on the Bible itself. But here's what's remarkable. Even with all this evidence, we still don't know everything about the Sea Peoples. We don't know their original language with certainty. We don't know all 5 confederation groups equally well. The Pele set are best documented, but the Shur-Din and others remain more mysterious. We don't know if they had a unified leadership or if they were truly independent groups that occasionally coordinated. And the biggest question, exactly where did they come from? Some recent research using DNA analysis and isotope testing is trying to answer this. In 2023, researchers analyzed the remains of people from the late Bronze Age Mediterranean. The DNA evidence suggested genetic connections to multiple regions, the Aegean, Anatolia, and southern Mediterranean coastal areas. This supports the theory that the Sea Peoples were a true confederation, multiple groups from different regions, united by circumstance. But the evidence is still being pieced together. The Sea Peoples remain one of ancient history's most fascinating unsolved mysteries. We can identify their impact clearly. We can trace their settlement into established populations. But their origin story still eludes us. And that's what makes them so captivating. They're the evidence of a catastrophe we can see, but can't fully explain. They're the bridge between the Bronze Age and the Iron Age. They're the people who appeared from nowhere and changed the course of civilization. The Sea Peoples remind us of something important. History isn't always a clear narrative with heroes and villains clearly labeled. Sometimes history is a mystery. Sometimes the most important people in the story are the ones we know the least about. Sometimes civilizations that seem permanent and unshakable can collapse in a single generation. And sometimes an entire confederation can be remembered only by what their enemies wrote about them. That's the power and the tragedy of the Sea People's story. If you found this mystery as fascinating as I did, there are more ancient mysteries where this came from. Subscribe for more deep dives into history's greatest unsolved questions. And if you have theories about where the Sea Peoples came from or what really happened during the Bronze Age collapse, drop them in the comments. I read every single one because the beautiful thing about history is that it's never truly closed. It's always open to new evidence, new interpretations, new understanding. The Sea Peoples might finally reveal their secrets, or they might remain history's greatest maritime mystery. Either way, their story is one we should all know. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.